Welcome to Tell Me More Stories Told as podcast, where we bring you the most fascinating stories. Today, we're going to dive into the life and career of singer-songwriter Gracie Abrams.
Yeah, you know her. She's had some big hits like I Miss You, I'm Sorry.
Right, exactly. And toured with some huge names like Olivia Rodrigo and Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
But I think there's way more to her story than just that.
There's a lot of depth to her, I think.
Yeah, so let's start with the basics. Gracie Abrams was born on September 7th, 1999.
In Los Angeles County, California.
Yep. And fun fact, her dad is filmmaker J.J. Abrams.
Oh, wow. Yeah, like Star Wars.
Star Trek, all those.
Yeah, those big ones.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So she kind of grew up around creativity. But what's crazy is she started writing songs at 8 years old.
8 years old. Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know most kids are like, barely learning their ABCs.
Right, yeah.
And she's already putting like words and music together. And she attended Barnard College, but left after just 1 year to pursue music.
That's a bold move.
It takes some serious guts to walk away from like an Ivy League school.
Absolutely to chase a dream like that.
To chase a dream, right?
Yeah.
So her early career, it took off pretty quickly. In 2019, she released her debut single, Mean It.
Okay.
And then in 2020, her EP Minor came out. And she was working with some pretty big producers even back then.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like Joel Little.
I know him from Lorde.
Exactly. He produced some of Lord's big stuff. And Blake Slatkin.
Oh, wow. Yeah, okay.
And then came I Miss You, I'm Sorry.
That was such a hit.
It was everywhere. That was in 2020. Then in 2021, she collaborated with Benny Blanco on a track called Unlearn,
Oh, okay.
and then released her second EP. This is what it feels like.
Mm.
Crazy how much she accomplished in like just a few years.
It really is. Yeah, she hit the ground running.
She did. And throughout this time, she was touring like constantly.
Oh, wow.
She even opened for Olivia Rodrigo on the Sour Tour, which,
Yeah.
Talk about exposure.
Yeah, huge audience for that
It's a
show.
huge audience, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so then we get to 2023, and it's like things go into overdrive.
Mm.
Her debut album, Good Riddance, comes out in February.
I love that album.
It's a good one, and critics loved it too.
Yeah, it seemed like everyone was talking about it.
They were, and then just a few months later, a deluxe edition dropped,
Wow.
showing, just how much people were like craving more of her music.
Yeah.
But here's the big thing. That same year, she was chosen to open for Taylor Swift on the Eras Tour.
The Eras Tour. Wow.
That's
Yeah.
talk about a dream come true,
It's
right?
huge. Yeah.
Huge. And she was also still doing her own Good Riddance tour.
Oh, wow. So like 2 tours at the same time, pretty much?
Pretty much. And she even had a song Cedar on the soundtrack for the TV show The Buccaneers.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and to top it all off, she got nominated for a Grammy for Best New Artist.
Oh, wow. What a year.
What a year,
I
right?
know.
2023 was massive for her.
It really was.
So then, we move into late 2023 and 2024, and the success just keeps coming.
Okay, like what else happened?
Well, she was featured on a remix of Noah Kahan's Everywhere Everything.
Oh, cool.
And that actually became her first entry on the Billboard Hot 100.
Wow. So like officially charting now?
Officially charting right,
Yeah.
and she was named to Forbes' 30 Under 30 list, which, it's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, very prestigious.
So she releases her second studio album, The Secret of Us, in June of 2024.
Okay.
And it debuts at number 2 on the Billboard 200 chart.
Wow. So she's like a bona fide pop star now.
She is right. And of course, there was a Secret of Us tour to support the album.
Of course.
And one really cool thing on that album, she collaborated with Taylor Swift on a song called Us.
Oh, wow.
And they actually got nominated for a Grammy for Best Pop Duo Group Performance for that song.
That's awesome.
It is. So it's just crazy to think about how quickly she's become this like major force in the music industry.
It's really wild.
And I think what's so impressive is that she's done it all while staying true to her own like unique style.
She hasn't like sold out or tried to be someone she's not,
Right, exactly.
which is so cool, in an industry that can be really like focused on image and trends and all that.
Totally. And it's like
Yeah.
she's not chasing those trends. She's kind of like setting them.
Yeah, she's like paving her own path.
Exactly. And I think that's what people connect with. You can feel that authenticity in her music.
It's genuine. Yeah.
It is. So we've covered a lot of ground here, but there's so much more to Gracie Abrams' story, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more on The Deep Dive.
We're back, and, we were talking about how quickly Gracie Abrams has made a name for herself in music.
And not just like, fame and stuff, but how she's stayed true to herself along the way.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think that's such a huge part of what makes her music resonate with people.
It's that vulnerability. you know? She's not afraid to put her emotions out there, even the messy ones.
Right. And it makes you feel like it's okay to not be okay. We all go through those things.
Totally. And it's especially powerful coming from someone so young and in the public eye.
It's easy to feel like you have to have it all figured out, especially when you're in the spotlight.
Right. But with Gracie, it's like she's saying, hey, I'm figuring things out too, and it's okay to not have all the answers.
Exactly. And you can see that evolution in her music, too. From her early EPs to The Secret of Us.
Yeah, it's definitely there, but that emotional core, it's always been there.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's like we're getting a glimpse into her diary almost.
It's very personal.
But somehow it feels universal, too.
Right. It's like she's putting into words feelings that we all have, but maybe don't know how to express ourselves.
And that's the power of music, right?
Yeah. Finding that connection through shared experiences.
And speaking of connections, let's talk about her musical influences. Because she's mentioned some pretty big names.
Oh, yeah. Like who?
Like Joni Mitchell.
Classic.
Simon and Garfunkel.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And you can hear those influences in her music.
You can. Yeah, that storytelling aspect and the blend of folk and pop.
Yeah. And I think she brings a contemporary twist to those classic influences.
She does, yeah. It's not like she's just copying them.
No, she's taking those elements and making them her own.
Yeah, and I think it's cool how she's also inspired by artists like Lorde and Phoebe Bridgers.
Right, those are some good ones.
They all share that kind of introspective vibe, exploring like the complexities of youth and relationships.
And they're not afraid to get real about the darker parts of life, too.
Exactly. Which is something I think Gracie does really well.
Yeah, she doesn't shy away from those tough emotions.
No, she embraces them, and I think that's what makes her music so compelling.
It's not just surface level stuff.
Yeah.
There's real depth there.
There is, yeah.
And it's interesting to think about how her upbringing might have shaped her approach to music.
Oh, yeah, because her dad is J.J. Abrams.
Exactly. He's like a huge Hollywood director.
Yeah.
So she grew up surrounded by creativity,
Right. I mean, that must have had some influence on her.
It definitely did, but it also probably came with some pressure, too.
Oh, yeah, like living up to that legacy.
Right, and maybe feeling like she had to prove herself even more.
Absolutely.
But I think she's done that and more.
She has, yeah. She's created her own path.
Exactly, and it's her talent and her hard work that have gotten her to where she is today. And speaking of using her voice, she's also been very vocal about her activism.
Yeah, like her support for abortion rights.
Right. It's clear that those issues are important to her, and she's not afraid to speak out.
Which is really cool to see, especially from a young artist.
It is, because it would be easy to just stay quiet and not risk alienating anyone.
Right. But she's using her platform to make a difference.
And that brings up an interesting question, like, how do you balance being an artist with being an activist?
That's a good question because, some artists prefer to keep those things separate.
Right. But for Gracie, it feels like her activism is an extension of her art.
It's all connected, yeah.
And it's genuine. It's not just for publicity.
It's coming from a real place.
And I think that's why it resonates with her fans.
Absolutely. They see her as someone who's using her voice for good.
And who's willing to stand up for what she believes in.
Exactly.
Which is pretty inspiring, if you ask me. It's really inspiring to see how she's using her voice, both in her music and with her activism.
It is, yeah.
And it kind of makes you wonder what's next for her.
Right. She's already accomplished so much.
She has. Where does she go from here?
I don't know, but that's what's so exciting about artists like Gracie Abrams.
Yeah.
You never know what they're going to do next.
You really don't.
She's fearless when it comes to creative choices.
She is.
Always pushing boundaries.
And evolving. You think about like where she started with Mean It to where she is now with The Secret of Us.
Yeah.
It's a huge leap.
It is. It shows how much she's grown, not just as a songwriter, but as a person, too.
Right, exactly. And I'm really curious to see how his sound continues to evolve.
Me too.
As she, gets older and has more experiences.
Yeah, life experiences definitely shaped the music.
They do, and her collaborations have been so interesting, too.
Yeah, she's worked with some great people.
She has, like, from those early days with Joel Little to singing with Taylor Swift.
Yeah, that's a pretty wide range.
It is.
What other artists do you think she might collaborate with in the future?
That's a good question. I could see her doing something with, like, Bon Iver.
Oh, yeah.
Exploring a more, like, atmospheric sound.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, or maybe even someone totally unexpected like Kendrick Lamar.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, blending her lyrics with his hip-hop style.
That would be really interesting.
It would, right. I mean, the possibilities are endless.
They are. It's exciting to think about.
It is, and I think that willingness to experiment, to step outside of her comfort zone,
Yeah.
That's what keeps things fresh.
It does, not just for the listeners, but for her, too.
Right. It's got to be exciting for her to keep pushing herself creatively.
For sure.
So beyond the music,
Hmm.
I'm also curious to see how her activism evolves.
Yeah, that's a big part of who she is.
It is. Will she get more involved with specific organizations, maybe?
Yeah,
Or even start her own initiatives?
that's possible, too.
Who knows? I think she's just getting started.
I think so, too.
So if you're a Gracie Abrams fan, it's
Yeah.
a pretty exciting time.
It is new music, potential collaborations.
And she's inspiring a whole movement of young people to get involved in activism.
That's amazing.
It really is.
It just goes to show you that music can be so much more than just entertainment.
It can, right.
It can spark conversations. It can inspire change.
It can be a source of comfort.
Absolutely.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of Gracie Abrams,
Yeah.
let's leave you with a thought.
Okay.
What role does music play in your life?
Hmm.
Does it inspire you? Does it challenge you? Does it comfort you?
Good questions.
And how can you use your own voice, whether through music or other means,
Yeah.
to make the world a little bit brighter?
I like that.
Keep those questions in mind as you listen to Gracie Abrams
Yeah.
or any artist who moves you,
Yeah.
because ultimately it's that connection, that shared experience,
Right.
that makes music so powerful.
It really does.
So thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It was fun.
We'll be back soon with another fascinating exploration,
Always learning something new.
uncovering those hidden gems of information just for you.